Big Angel.
I'm Little Angel.
And together we're going to do Cowboys Theory here in the museum. This is our inaugural voyage of this crazy sports talk thing that everyone's doing. So we're just going to throw our 2 cents in. If you like it, great. Go ahead and hit that button and subscribe. If not, hey, just keep on moving along. So the first thing we're going to talk about, though, is the rumors about Jadeveon Clowney. So there was a report coming out saying that Jadeveon Clowney had the Dallas Cowboys and the New Orleans Saints as the top destinations of where he would like to go. For me, if the price is right, I'm definitely going to be all over this. I think he's a superb run defender, but you know he lacks a little bit. Amazingly, he lacks a little bit in the pass rush department. I'm not sure what your take is, but that's just what I have. So, what do you think about it?
My take is this past year the Dallas Cowboys had a little bit of trouble on the run game. Back in 2018, I think it was.
2018? What's 2018?
The Rams ran all over us in that divisional round, and it was frustrating. So I think having a guy like him would significantly help our defense.
That's great. And, you know, Aldon Smith has reapplied for reinstatement. He got it. He's back in there, but he hasn't played in like 5 years. Randy Gregory, we're all still waiting for that 60-day window to, you know, start and stop for him to be reinstated and or have the commissioner deny his reinstatement. So it's a little bit unknown on that side of the D line. The opposite end, you have Demarcus Lawrence, fantastic guy. It's kind of weird that we pay big money to a defensive end that's, you know, on the right side of the line, i.e. going against the left tackle. So it's a little bit weird, you know, but I think it'll work if you bring in someone like Clowney. Hell, what did Robert Quinn do for us last year? 11.5 sacks?
Yeah.
I mean, you know, that's pretty good stuff, you know, and maybe Clowney's angle here is to go ahead and jump out and, you know, sign a 1-year deal, prove-it deal, so that you can, you know, retest the market next year, you know, build up his brand. There's no other place better to do it than the Dallas Cowboys. You do a 1-year deal, it benefits the Dallas Cowboys, and then, you know, he goes back on the market next year, and, you know, with all the publicity that you get as a Dallas Cowboy, you know, who knows? Maybe he gets his $21 million a year that he's seeking. But as of right now, I think Jadeveon Clowney will be a fantastic addition to this defensive Cowboys defensive line. Okay, you know, Peter's probably going to be called on me for, you know, talking about this, for beating a dead horse, but well, we got to get into it.
Right.
Jamal Adams. Yes, that Jamal Adams. There was reports out there. Everyone knows the reports. A, he's unhappy with the Jets and asked for a trade. B, his priority is to become a Dallas Cowboy. This is #1 destination. But you're starting to hear whispers that, you know, maybe San Francisco will get in there. You know, everyone's talked about or heard about the 8 destinations that he would like to go. But it's the Dallas Cowboys,
yes.
Okay? So, now, before we get any further, what do you think of Jamal Adams, even before we talk about him coming to the Dallas Cowboys?
I think this guy's a game changer. You know, he could play coverage, play the run. He steps up, plays that linebacker position sometimes.
Absolutely.
And he would be a really good addition to our defense.
Yeah, and not to mention the defensive leadership that he would bring to this team. Late last year, we traded for Michael Bennett. We traded for Michael Bennett. Then late last year, we talked about how it was Michael Bennett, you know, giving the leadership speech to the defensive locker room or the defensive side of the team, rather than Demarcus Lawrence and some of the guys that we've come to know, Jalen Smith, who wears a C on his chest. And it's just unsettling a little bit to know that it's not a Dallas Cowboy with the contract already, who's been here, that has established himself, giving that speech. So I do believe that the Dallas Cowboys need a little bit more leadership. So it's funny, Jamal Adams is the kind of guy that, yes, he's instinctual, he has everything that you want in that strong safety, but the thing is he's young enough to relate to the younger guys, but old enough and, you know, savvy enough to go and talk about, you know, life experiences, and it just works. So Jamal Adams, I'm all for it if the price is right. Now, what would you give up for Jamal Adams? The report right now is that they will ask, the New York Jets will ask for Lyle Collins, right tackle Lyle Collins. What is your take on that?
I think Lyle Collins had too much of a big year to give up for that position. I would honestly give up a 1 and a 3 for Adams, but nothing more.
No
Honestly, none
players?
of that. Nope.
No players in there? No Cheeto?
No.
Anthony Brown? Any of that? All
Those
rumors
guys
talking?
are elite, coming soon. So no,
Okay.
not Collins, man. You
Okay,
did not say
all right.
Collins.
So I'm a little bit on the opposite end of the spectrum. A 1 and a 3, if that'll do it, and there was early reports saying that that's what the Jets would take for him. Absolutely, I'm running to the NFL commissioner's office and dropping that down. But the reality is the New York Jets are going to play hardball. So which player would be beneficial for the New York Jets to go along with that 1 and a 3? For me, it would be left guard Connor Williams. Connor Williams, it's funny because, the second round pick that we were supposed to send to Seattle for Earl Thomas ended up being Connor Williams. Now, to send Connor Williams with a 1 and a 3 to the New York Jets for Jamal Adams, it's kind of full circle. So, I really think that's something that the Cowboys should look into. It solves the offensive line issue that the New York Jets have, and he could play tackle, guys. He came out of Texas. He played left tackle at Texas. That was his position for 4 years. A lot of the draft experts had him as his arms were too short to go ahead and play on the left side. Well, who knows? What if he can go out and play tackle for the Jets? That's so much more value to get a first, a third, and a potential starting tackle or guard in this league. I mean, that's quite a haul. Jalen Ramsey, pure cornerback at a bigger lead or at a bigger need for teams.
Right.
Commanded 2 first-round picks and a 4th. The Jets would get a first, a third, and a starting lineman for Jamal Adams, someone who clearly doesn't want to be there and was more vocal about not being there than Jalen Ramsey, is something that I think would benefit both teams tremendously. All right, the last thing on Cowboys talk or Cowboys theory is the Dak Prescott situation. Dak just signed his franchise tender of $41.4 million, I believe it was. Your thoughts on the situation, Angel?
I think it was a good time to sign the contract. Not so much like a long-term deal yet, to give another year to show what he can do, such as the Lawrence situation back in 2018, 17.
Yeah.
We signed him to the franchise tag, see if he could do the year that he had prior. Before that, he had like 18 sacks, 20 sacks? What was it?
I think it was 14 sacks,
14?
I believe it was. Something like that.
14
He had a big
sacks.
year.
And
So-
I think it was a good thing to do, to sign the franchise tag to show again what he can do before he gives that long-term extension that he wants.
Okay, that's pretty good. So I think, look, before we get started, Dak Prescott to me is our franchise quarterback. He's the guy that's going to lead us to where we want to go, I believe. I do believe the timing of the signing of the contract it's a little bit, I'm a little bit curious. I'm a little bit suspicious about it. I think he had much more sinister intentions with doing this. A lot of people thought it's a good faith gesture by Dak Prescott and his camp to go out and talk about, and so they can go ahead and move forward with the contract extension. But I just think the uncertainty of the league, Dak Prescott's camp said, hey, let's just sign this tender so that we know we're going to get our $31+ million this year, even if there's not a season to go along. So that's kind of what I believe. I hope that the whole thing gets worked out. I hope Dak gets an extension or signs a contract to his liking. But another thing with that said, is something that can benefit both sides of the team. Dak wants a 4-year deal, while the Cowboys obviously want a 5 or longer term deal. Now that Dak is under the franchise tag, he's good for $31 million this year. Now, would he sign a 4-year extension on top of that, or does he want to go ahead and rip up this deal and move forward with just 4 years? That's the question that I pose you. What do you think it's going to be?
I think Dak wants to wait to see what Mahomes gets. It's gonna lopside everything with.
It depends. It could backfire him. It could backfire on him. Okay, so let's just say, for instance, Patrick Mahomes signs $40 million. Dak Prescott now has a ceiling of what he cannot go over.
Right.
So would it be better for him to sign, a $36 million a year average, whatever that comes out to, or now, or does he wait for Mahomes and maybe Watson?
Right.
Maybe Watson signs a $40 million per year deal that pushes Mahomes up to maybe $42 million. Now Dak can say, "Hey, I'm in between those two." I don't know. Just something that the Dallas Cowboys are currently playing with Dak Prescott. My belief would be to try to sign him to as long of a deal as you can. If you can get Dak Prescott for, let's say, a 6-year, $222 million deal, that's what, about $37-38 million a year? I mean, in 2-3 years, everyone's going to look at that as a bargain. I know they're astronomical numbers right now. It's unfathomably that we think that we could pay such a player that big of a number. But it's not always about what you did on the field. It's about who's next in line, and that's something that people don't get. So I just believe that hopefully Dak Prescott gets a deal done. He could be the first $200 million player if he goes 6 years. But maybe that's not what his intent is. We don't know until it happens. Your guess is as good as mine, brother. I get asked a lot of questions about the museum, or we like to call it the museum. So after at the end of each segment, we're going to go ahead and talk about one of the pieces, just so you can see. I know there's just a mound of stuff back there, but this is one of my favorite pieces that I have. It's a 1977 Dallas Cowboys championship. Little I don't even know what you call it, action figure stand or something like that, So it's made by the Danbury Mint. I love Danbury Mint stuff. You're gonna see a whole lot of Danbury Mint stuff around here. I just love this piece because it just shows some of the great players that play for the Dallas Cowboys that might not be household names or common names as they used to be. Favorite player on this list? Who do you think? But excluding Roger Staubach.
Right,
All right.
right.
Who's it gonna be?
I'm about to go with the original '88, Drew Pearson.
Yes, Drew Pearson should be in the Hall of Fame, by the way.
Absolutely.
Okay, so me, I loved Cliff Harris. I love Mel Renfro, Too Tall Jones, but I'm gonna have to go with the guy in the end, Randy White, the Manster. I had an opportunity to meet this guy. He looks like he can still play in the NFL. Ginormous man. To think that the Dallas Cowboys, try to play him at linebacker first, and it didn't work out for Tom Landry to go ahead and put him on the D line and allow him to become what he is known for now. It's just coaching at its finest. So, all right, everyone, thank you so very much for coming by the Cowboys Theory. Please check by periodically. We'll try to post as many of these as we can. Thank you very much.
Thank you.